My brother-in-law gave me that paper. I call, and then they bring me food. In church, they give food, you know, a lot of things.
So you're saying the help is there if you look for it?
Yeah. You have to look for it, because you're not going to come to my house, oh, you want this, no. We have to look for it.
That is a good thing, isn't it? That it's there if you look.
Mm-hmm.
Luz Navarro is just getting by with help from Meals on Wheels and SNAP, what we used to call food stamps. The help, as she says, is there if you look for it. But we know that is not true of Meals on Wheels, which has a long waiting list caused by insufficient funding. In Washington, deep and contentious lines are drawn in a battle over entitlement programs, including Meals on Wheels and SNAP.
It's not only a compelling issue of what this country really should be about. I think every American, if you ask them, you know, from the most privileged, would say, no, there's absolutely no reason in this great country that anyone should be hungry. I mean, desperately hungry. You know, that's other places, etc. But to translate that sort of sentiment into practice requires legislation and money. And the fight in Washington is about the right legislation and the right money, and we're going to keep on fighting. And this is there are champions on both sides of the aisle.
There's a really great ideological divide in our nation right now. And I don't believe that anyone wants to see anyone go hungry. I really don't. I don't believe that's part of anyone's ethos or moral compass. I do think that some people think that everyone has the ability to be equally successful. I don't actually think that that's true. I think that
what Senator Reid is talking about has been described more bluntly in some quarters. The debate in Washington, they say, is over whether or not America can afford old people. At Brown University, a new 10-year study suggests that at least one federal program, home-delivered meals funded by the Older Americans Act and supplemented by state funding, allows older people to stay in their homes longer, to age in place. And that means less time in more expensive nursing homes state pay for via Medicaid.
And we found that states that spend more in home-delivered meals, that one program out of all of them came up significant in our findings, was associated with a decrease in the low care prevalence in nursing homes.
So it makes sense to fund these programs because there's a cost savings at the other end.
There's a potential, you know, as far as what the exact ratio of spending to savings is outside the scope of this study. But we are doing some additional analyses that look at the potential savings to Medicaid in states by decreasing the population in nursing homes. That could be almost, you know, that could be attributable to increasing home-delivered meals.
Basically, we may be the one service that allows them to stay in their home as opposed to going into an institutional setting. And when you look at how relatively inexpensive a meal a day is, to save the expense of looking at an institutional setting, it's a no-brainer to do it. Not to mention that most seniors would prefer to be in their home than a nursing home.
Bart Rocco told us that with government help, a subsidized apartment, SNAP, and Meals on Wheels, he's living independently, and to the point that his worries about the future are, well, let's hear how he puts it.
There's two things you got to do in this world. You got to pay taxes, and you got to end debt. So why worry about it? When it happens, it happens. Yeah. The only thing is I'm trying to make arrangements so when I do go, somebody will come and pick up all the furniture.
So one of your biggest worries is what's going to happen to your stuff?
Well, I'm going to donate it to one of the organizations like Rhode Island Donation Exchange or Riverwood.
I think that's a pretty healthy perspective, if that's your biggest worry.
Yeah, that's about it.
Thomas says that her analysis shows the gap in funding for everyone who would like to be served by Meals on Wheels. The wait list in most every state is just a fraction of a percentage point of the state budget. Using accounting jargon, she says it's within the rounding error of state budgets. The end of the year plus or minus number that in a budget of billions is no big concern.
So this was among the first that's really been able to show that these programs make a difference. And we've had congressional staff and an interest from a lot of different associations saying, you know, wow, this is great that you've shown this. We've been waiting for these data. You know, we've known this all along, we just haven't had the data to show it.
Next time on Hungry in the West End.
The elderly are up and on food stamps. We try to make sure that everyone is up and on food stamps. There are some people that are still protesting because of their pride, but most people, we have gotten up on food stamps. And I know it's $16 a month, but you know what? It makes a difference.
You can learn more, read Jody McPhillips' stories, read about the Brown University research, and watch extended interviews and other videos at aarp.org/ri.